Hello, y'all. So you'll have to forgive me this week. My voice is going or gone. I think you killed it last week. Uh, and we're going to struggle through this. We're going to try and keep it short. Last week we did a request. It was the Daniel praying. And that one's what kept me up or kept us online all day, all night doing that version. The camera doesn't focus real well when I go close up. There we go. Several of you posted your versions of this, but it looked like you were missing uh, the definition line that on the outside of the columns. Uh, those are lines, not fills. And if you have your layer setting in fill mode and you run the job, Lightburn will come up and say, "Hey, you've got objects shown here to be in fill and their lines. What do you?" And you tell it not to print, or well, it doesn't cut them. It doesn't do those, so it comes out incomplete. But that's the finished version. I finally got to test it and got that up online. It looked good. But I had some requests for a Christmas ornament that was more childlike and not religious, and so I did this little guy and shared that with my patrons. And we're going to go through this design process relatively quickly tonight. It's very, very simple, very easy to do, especially if you have an art library and you can pull assets from your library. Now, when I did this one, I drew everything up. And I'm going to draw up a lot of it tonight, but I'm not going to recreate the snowflake or the snowman. The snowman I didn't draw. I got the snowman from, I think it was Heart. I always invert it. It's either Heart SVG or SVGHeart.com. But I got the snowman from there. And but the rest of it I drew up in Lightburn, and we're going to look at that and show you how easy something like that is to create. And this is a good way to get rid of a lot of your skeletons. If you're like me, you don't throw out any of your material until it is just gone. And you guys, by request, you've had me doing a lot of crosses over the last couple of days. And when I do a cross, I get this. Well, there's a lot of meat left on the skeleton here and here. And, there's some good material left there. So these don't get thrown away. Well, this little guy will fit perfectly there. Comes close. In fact, when if you have a lot of the same skeletons laying around and you got a lot of the same size meat, you can design your project for your skeletons. Get all the goodie out of that. Because if you were smart, when you figured your cost on this piece, if this is the premium Baltic birch, and I put it at an average of about $2 a sheet. And if it's an 8-layer cross and I got eight sheets in it, well, I say I got $16 in raw materials plus my finish. But I figure that into my cost of goods, that entire sheet. So when I sell that product, well, essentially I've got nothing in this now. This is now pennies from heaven. But I'll show you when I lay this out, this final design, when you're laying these out, it's like, well, how many of these can I get on a sheet? And then that's how you determine your cost on that. Even though this was pennies from heaven, how many can you get on a sheet? And that's what your cost is per piece. You got to know how much stuff it costs whenever you're selling it. Don't be giving your stuff away. So we're going to get into that and figure out, show you it's a good way to use your skeletons, clean up your shop a little bit, and you get more revenue out of stuff like that than you can. And these are actually a whole lot less work than a pair of earrings. You get a lot of earrings out of little pieces of skeletons like that, but earrings are a pain in the butt. They're decent money, but they're a pain in the butt. So hope everybody's doing well. I seen right out of the gate, we've got a question that I didn't see anybody reply to in the pre-stream. Michael's asked, does anybody know what happened to Gravini? Well, Gravini was Gravini.cz. It's out of the Czech Republic. And I've seen a bunch of people, different comments in different groups that said, yeah, they didn't pay for the renewal of their website, but being that it's out of the Czech Republic, who knows? I hate it because that was a cool tool. Somebody here in one of these streams introduced me to it, and I enjoyed using it. But it's just been gone for quite a while now. No telling if it's going to come back around. Got all the regulars here. I'm not going to do the roll call. I'm going to just look for questions and comments real quick, and then jump right into Patreon. I don't want to ignore anybody. Yeah, and this is not a question, but a comment. Yeah, Carl, it's bad, brother. It's bad. Parts of the state it'll be a while for them to recover. And the national news and the world news, they just are not giving it the proper disclosure or approach. I think last time I seen, they said somewhere around 120 dead or something, or real low number. I don't know how long it'll be before they know how many people are actually dead, because there's entire families that were wiped away in landslides. I've seen one household, it was 11 people taken in one landslide. The whole house, the whole family just gone, just in one little small incident, So that's 10% of the total missing people. Nah, it's going to be a while before the whole story comes out. Let's see here. No, absolutely not. No. And I'll tell you, I don't mind helping folks. I don't mind sharing my knowledge, but I do hate the comments from the peanut gallery, and those that are here right now are probably not some of the problem people because you're here early and ready to go. But it was some jerk, and he actually downloaded the free file, but he went to the trouble of putting in the comments fields. And I got a sneaky suspicion. I know I got a good idea who it might be, but put in a bunch of fake information, which is fine. I encourage you, if you don't want to share your information, don't share it. But then even put in a false email and put some snide remarks in there about, an incredibly long time for just a free file. Well, it's not about the file. It never is about the file. It's about sharing the knowledge and learning how to do the file yourself. You don't even have to go and download it. When we're done, you could go do it yourself. I'm sharing my time and my knowledge and giving it away. Take your snide comments but I got a sneaky suspicion I know who you are, and I don't care. I am Carl. I want to make sure I address any questions that's out there before we jump in here. And for anybody that's new, which I don't think we'll have any new, hopefully do. We hopefully got some new folks in here. If you have a question or a comment, do like Victor did here. Precede your question with at least one question mark. I like to see 3. Give me 3 question marks in your question, and that grabs my attention, and I'll know to look at that and address the question. If you have a comment you want addressed, put 3 exclamation points plus your comment. I'll be sure to post your comment and reply to it as needed. If you see anybody just putting up random numbers, 1, 2, 3, that's just every time they learn something new, they just share, hey, I didn't know that. So Victor is asking if the advanced line setting for stamps could have an inverse for stamps. If the advanced line setting for stamps could have an inverse option, this could be used to round out the outer edge of an object so I don't have to sand the sharp edges. All right, I don't know what you mean by stamps. Totally lost on your comment, Victor. I do know what you're talking about as far as sharp edges. And depending on what you're doing, there are ways to get rid of sharp edges. You can do, offsets have 3 different options. And one of them is rounded. But I don't understand what you're talking about as far as line setting for stamps. Maybe explain more and I might be able to help you. There might be a way around that. Because I don't, at times you don't like sharp edges. Looking for questions and comments, question marks. Do you have another box generator that I like? What is the one that everybody was using? Boxes.py. I got to where I could use it, but I really liked Gravini better. I've used Maker Case, I think it is, a couple of times, but I haven't had a need as of late since Gravini disappeared to rely on a generator because I've been doing a lot of these crosses and ornaments and help, but I don't have one that has just stepped up and said, hey, use this in place of Maker Case. And that's what Jack says. I use Maker Case. Maker Case is pretty good. I like Gravini a lot better. And I just seen the exclamation points. Totally agree. It's always about the technique and the process. Yep. That's how this whole channel started. The whole idea with Hobo with Wood was I got a laser not knowing anything. I'd never seen a laser and I had never opened Lightburn. No, I knew nothing about either one of them. And I began documenting the entire experience from day one, from the time my very first laser arrived by the postman and me, yay, I'm a kid at Christmas, got a, and assembling it and all the hurdles and struggles and struggles and struggles, but finally getting a grasp on it. And here we are. It's been 2 years and I've got a pretty good grasp on Lightburn and, how to get the results I want out of it. But I figured, you know what? I'll just document the experience. And here we are. Okay. And I love this comment. I love this. V says, I'm not sure I've downloaded any files in a while. And by that, I am hoping that's because V has learned from watching these videos how to do these yourself and not needing to go outside and get other files. Been with you the whole journey, Steve. Learned so much from you. Well, thank you. I appreciate your support. I've learned so much from you and LHG. I like watching you work your way through it. I learned a lot. Well, sometimes it's a struggle. Today should be pretty easy, and we're going to jump right into Lightburn now. I'm going to mark my spot here in the comments. And I was actually hoping to be already going by now, but seeing questions and comments that need to be addressed. And all right. Switch. Jack says late, but no, you're just in time, Jack. We're just jumping into Lightburn. In fact, what we're going to do is it's a snow globe, if you didn't pick up on it, but it's a Christmas ornament, in the form of a snow globe. And I created that in Lightburn, and we're going to recreate that right now. And I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm not going to recreate the snowflake from scratch. I did that originally, but I've got some in the Lightburn library file, and they're not great, but they'll work for the purposes of demonstration. Yeah, I'm with you, Chicago Bob. Yep, I'm with you. 90 minutes or less today. All right. Now, let me get my art library, get over here, and let's switch it over. Ding, dong, ding, dong, dong. All right. So these are, this is a Lightburn library file that I got elsewhere. It's not mine. And I don't think it was created in Lightburn. If it was, it's not very Lightburn friendly for, but I'm going to use this one. If I put it in line mode, it's got offsets of everything, and that's a problem because if you cut this out, well, both of those fall away, and there's no reason to cut them both out. If you engrave them, well, it's kind of okay. But when you're going to use it for a cut file, you don't need all that. So I'm going to ungroup all this, and I'm going to get rid of the inner and the, oh, dummy. I want the outers on that one. I want to get us just real fast, grab the snowflake. And this is something I could have had done before. Group all that together. So there's a snowflake. And the snowman I got from one of the websites I've subscribed to. I did not draw him out, but I'm going to use those little guys to create the ornament. But before I do, I need to create the snow globe. And the snow globe I did draw out from scratch, and we're going to do that just to show you how I use the tools in Lightburn. And I'm going to grab a rectangle tool, and I'm going to draw out just kind of right now. I'm not worried too much about sizing it at the moment because I'm going to be just freehanding a lot of this. So there is my first rectangle, and I'm going to say I'm really only wanting half of that. I'm going to hold my control button, and when I hold control, that little dot pops up right there. Hold control, and then I can scroll down and get a concave radius. I'm like, okay, like that. And then I'm just going to come back over to my rectangle tool and draw out a rectangle. And I'm going to bring it down to about, well, I'll probably bring it right to about there. And I'm just going to cut that. Select that, hold my shift button, select that. And if you don't know which one's going to give you the result you want, you can always do Control B, bring up your assistant. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. That's not what, that is what I want. Say, okay. So that looks all right. And now I'm going to get a rectangle tool again, and I'm going to come right here to that corner, get my bullseye with my cursor, and I'm going to bring that out and overlap it twice the distance that I want it to be. So I'm going to take it to about there. And with that there, hold my shift button, select that and center it up. And now I'm going to select that again, and I'm going to hold my control button, get that circle up there, got my control. And now I'm just going to take this and bring it all the way left as far as it'll go. And that just creates a radius, the maximum radius, and rounds that off completely. So I'm like, okay, that looks good. And I'm going to take that and weld those together. And now I'm going to grab my ellipse tool, hold my shift and control. I'm looking at about center, and I'm going to draw out a circle about like so. Hold shift, select that, center it up. And let's see how big this is now. Because now we're getting into where we need to worry about the size. I'm at about 190 mil height, which is 745. I don't want to have it more than about 4.5. So now I'm going to size it down to 4.5. Come on. 4.5. There we go. And now I'm going to take that ellipse, and I'm going to do an inward offset of just inward, and I'm in inches. I only be in millimeters. I want to do an inward offset of 3 millimeters. Do not delete the original and say okay. Now I'm going to hold my just that outer ellipse, and hold my shift button, select that, and weld those together. And then I could have done this 2 different ways. In fact, I don't like that right there. I take that back. I want to undo that. I want to have more of that bead. This is supposed to be the square base, and then this like a rounded bead of wood that's going to be around there. And I want to have more of that bead showing. So I'm going to bring it into there. And now I'm going to duplicate the base, duplicate it, Control D, and say A, hold Shift, select one of the bases and subtract, and then select that other one, hold my Shift button, select that, and weld it. Now, if you missed all that, just go back and watch the replay, because I don't want to waste a whole lot of time going back and back and back. But there you can see that quick, I've just created a snow globe. Now I'm going to take a quick second and jump over here and look at questions and comments. Go back to my spot. There's my spot. Yeah, we're going to try and keep this relatively short. I have only downloaded one file recently, and that was talking someone through getting a file. Yep. And that's a whole nother subject. Victor's explaining stamps make the rubber have a wider base of a letter. Are you talking about rubber stamps? You're making rubber stamps, but if it was wider at the middle, for example, stamps make the rubber have a wider base of a letter, but if it was wider at, yeah, Victor, if you're talking about making rubber stamps, there are ways to address all the issues you're talking about, but that is a whole nother subject, and I'll be glad to spend time talking with you about it. But I don't want to turn this into another 5-hour live stream. I welcome you and encourage you to reach out to me at hobowithwood.com. I've helped several people this week. I'm in North Carolina, and I've been from Missouri to Australia this week helping folks out. And I'm happy to help you out too with the problems you're describing and discussing. But it's not about this particular subject matter at hand. And I don't want to, and I'll get all sidetracked in a minute. So reach out to me in email, hobowithwood@gmail.com, and I'll put up one of the tickers that's got the email in it. That's my donation page, but you can see the email there for Zelle, hobowithwood@gmail.com. You send me a message, and we'll get together, and I'll help you work through those problems. Let's see here. Question. Yeah, back to same thing, Victor. All right. Question. How do I get the laser returned back home after I say frame something or finish a project? It used to do that, but now it stops in the middle, at top and bottom of the project. Well, depending on what you're doing with your project, John, you may not want it to go home, but if you, because, and when I'm running a job and I'm running multiple layers on the same material, I don't want it to come back to home. I want it to go out of my way and then come back. And there's a lot of reasons for that. And same thing goes to you that I just said to Victor. Not current topic related. If we get to 90 minutes and we're not out of time yet, or we get done with this design before 90 minutes, I'll address one and or both. But use that email right there. Contact me, and I'll be glad to help you. And I don't charge, guys. I don't charge. I can meet up with you in this same studio and talk with you and help you through your problems. I do not charge. I gladly accept donations, but I do not charge. I strongly encourage you to become a patron on Patreon, but I do not charge. Yeah, in fact, I was in Florida too, helping Craig. Craig was getting ready to hunker down for the hurricane, and he was worried about getting a design done in Lightburn. Craig, I hope you got that working for you, and I'm glad to help. All right. Mark this. Now back over to our snow globe. So there is our basic snow globe shape. And now that I've got that, I'm going, in fact, there are a couple of things I need to do to this that I want to have. Well, no, I only need it on my top piece. I ain't gonna worry about it right now. So since I've got that base structure, I'm going to Control D, duplicate that, and I'm going to set it up here. That is my work in progress. That is a ready-made, ready to use, and I can work on this all day long. And if I screw it up, and if I won't have bad enough, and I just need to delete it all, I got this to grab and not have to just undo. So let's grab my snowflake, and I'm going to come in here. In fact, something I should have done, and this is a perfect example of my undo. We're going to undo real fast, get there. And I'm going to take this circle and I want to duplicate it, and I'm going to put it on a blue toolpath. And then I'm going to turn that off so we don't see it. And now I'll weld that back together. What happened? I didn't turn it off. Turn it off. There we go. So now purple, weld. And now when you turn that back on, you have that ellipse. You've got that perfect center bowl there, and that's just a tool path. So now I'm going to take that and Control D, duplicate that, and set that up here. Then I'm going to grab my snowflake, hold my shift button, select that circle tool path and tell it to go to center. Then I'll select just the snowflake and blow it up until it's overlapping. And I want it to be overlapping about the same distance, but not going past the outermost perimeter. And this one, like I said, I didn't draw this one. It's a little bit, it's not, what do we call it? Symmetrical. So I'm going to rotate it. Why not go back? There, nope. I think I went too many buttons. Or maybe I ain't even going to get what I want. Shift. Nope. All right. So to get it to where I want, I could take and hold shift. Let's see, select the snowflake, hold shift, and put it in the center of this piece. And that's still not quite what I'm looking for. So I'm going to just cheat it. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to put it back in the center of my toolpath, and then I'll stretch it. Hold my control button and just stretch that up. And now I'll shrink it down a little bit. There we go. All right. So now that's centered up in my snow globe. And now this is where a lot of people get confused. And I tell you guys every week, how many ways are there to do something in Lightburn? There's always more than one way. If you select those two and group them, then that is, if you would have to be able to picture in your mind that is one solid piece. In fact, if I put it in a fill mode, that's one solid piece. This is, if it's all grouped, oops, I didn't mean to move it. That's when it's in fill mode. You get select shift. There we go. That's all grouped. No, it's not. It says that's 3 objects. Why is that 3 objects? Let's turn off the black layer. There we go. That's 1 object. Okay. Turn that back on. So if that's 1 solid object, and I'll put it in the fill mode, you'll see. So that's 1 solid object. The black is 1 solid object. If you had 2 solid pieces, then you'd want to weld those together. So if you selected the first group the black, and then the blue, and tell it to weld it, then you get that result. It's all one piece now. It's welded together. Another way to think about it is if this was a solid disc in here, you're just getting that top part of the globe. You don't have the outer perimeter. You just have the inner part of the globe. Well, now, if we put that in fill mode, that's one solid disc or one solid piece of wood. And if you want to get what layer is that on? Is that, we're going to put it on a red layer. And then bring it down. There we go. So now you can see the red on top of blue. If you've got a solid disc of blue and you want to get the snowflake out of that, then you're going to use the subtract button. You need to subtract that snowflake from the disc. So you select the disc, hold your shift key, and then zoom in, select just the snowflake and subtract. And that would create the same end result. So always more than one way. Then I'm going to turn off my toolpath so I don't see it. And where that's this guy, I'm going to put him on a blue toolpath so I don't confuse myself. All right, so blue and red, I'm going to put all of this on red. That's one cut shape. And those little guys right there, those little triangles, those are going to be a nuisance, and they're going to be behind my snowman. So I'm going to ungroup it, and I'm going to select those two and hit the delete button. Get rid of them. You're not going to see them. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of them because I don't want those to be cut out if in any event. Now I'm going to group that back together, and you can see down at the bottom that's one object. Now that I've got one object, and it's a snowflake, I'm going to say Control-D, duplicate that, and I'm going to bring that up here because that is another finished position, and I don't want to have to recreate to that point if I have to, so I can just do that, and I'll keep working with this piece. Now let's turn our snowman back on, and we'll put him on the red layer too. Select him, put him on the red layer, and now I'm going to bring him over here. Actually, before I do, I'm going to leave him there. He is grouped together, and I'm going to do an offset on him. Now, the snowflake and this outer perimeter should be between 3 and 5 millimeters. It's just under 3, and this is just under 5. So I'm going to do an offset of my snowman of only 2 millimeters. I'm going to say offset outer shapes only and do a 2 millimeter offset. And do not delete the original. Use round and say OK. Now I'm going to grab both of those, and I'm temporarily going to group them so I don't mess things up when I'm moving stuff around. And then I'm going to bring him over here, and I'm going to size him up. He's a little big for what I want right now because he's a little baby snowman, and I want him to look kind of diminutive or behind my snowflake, but I also don't want to see these angles of that snowflake behind him, so I'll zoom him up a little bit. Maybe a little bit more. And what I'm looking for, I'm actually going to have his feet sitting right about there. So where he looks like he's standing on the bottom of the globe. The offset's going to be welded to that other piece. Let's put him in the center. There we go. That looks good. Now that I've got him centered up, I will ungroup it one time. And that will allow me to grab just the offset. In fact, before I do that, I'm going to ungroup that. I'm going to undo, rather. That's grouped. I'm going to select him with that offset. Control-D, duplicate it. Bring that up here because that's with the offset. Just save that. Now I will select the offset only. And do I want to subtract or weld? Well, I ain't sure about the subtraction part of it, but I know that if I turn off my toolpath so I don't see it, if I select both of those pieces and group it together, it is grouped. Make sure it's grouped. Yep. So that, hold my shift, select that offset and weld it. Now that welds the snowman in place. And if I put this snowman now on my black layer in fill mode, he's going to engrave right there. And that actually looks pretty good with the points radiating out around his hat and his head and his ears. And his feet are right there at the proper level where I want them to be. So now I'm going to, I like what I've got there. So I'm going to select that, say Control D, duplicate it, bring that up here and set it up here out the way. And now I want to, I just thought of, just now recognize something. And here, and I'm going to take a break and come over here and look for any questions and comments, because I just recognized something that I didn't do that I really want to do. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to correct what I didn't do and I should have done, and not waste everything that I've already got saved up there too. So let me go back up here to my, there's my mark. Any questions, comments, questions or comments? Nope. All right, good. All right, marking this. So what I wanted to do, and I failed to do it, I wanted to lessen that, make it a little bit shorter here. And if I take this, ungroup it, and get just that outer perimeter and go into node editing, and I'm going to grab everything from that corner node. I don't want that node, but everything from that corner node down on both sides. So right about there, select all those nodes, and I'm going to hold my shift button and I'm going to take that up a bit. There we go. And that's starting to flatten out that. I don't like that right there. We'll fix that. That one looked good. That one did right. That node right there messes things up. So actually we'll undo that and see about deleting that node and just fixing that back about to where she was. And now nodes, select those, hold my shift, take that up, and I'm a little high there. There is good. And now I'm going to select just the bottom nodes, hold my shift and bring that down a little bit. And I like that better because now, and it might be a little bit tall, because I want to put a nameplate down here on the bottom. And by putting a rectangular plate in here like that, now it's not going to be so funny looking with the really tall, the distance from here to the globe. By flattening that out a little bit, it just looks a little bit better. So that's, what I'm going for right there. But first, since I just changed this, what I need to do, and if this is the one I want to keep, I'm going to say Control D, duplicate that one, bring it up here, and I'm going to hold my shift button, select that. Actually, I need to ungroup that. So ungroup. That's good. So hold that, hold shift, and tell it to go to center top. And then I can select that one and delete it. Control D, duplicate it, select that one, top, center. That one, ungroup, and delete that. and Control D, duplicate it, send it to the top of that one and the center of that one, and delete that one. And now all of them are, well, I got rid of that one over there. Way to go, dummy. I thought I had it duplicated. Where did I lose it? I lost it there. Didn't duplicate it. Duplicate it. Duplicate it. Ungroup. Get rid of that one. And get rid of that one. Put all of that on the red path. So there's 1, 2, 3. 3 steps. I got my artwork. He's welded in place. All right, that's done. Now, I've still got my toolpath on here. Now I need to create another toolpath. I'm going to come up here and grab my rectangle tool. I'm going to come in here to that corner and draw out to that corner. Put it on a toolpath. And now I'm going to draw out a rectangle inside that. And then select the toolpath and center it. Now I'm going to duplicate that and go ahead and put it on a red path so we can see it a little better. Duplicate it, Control D, and I'm going to shrink her down. Nope, I don't want to duplicate it. I want to offset it. Select that and offset it inwards, corners, and we'll do, let's see, about 2.5 millimeters. Yeah, 2.5 millimeters, and say okay. Come back up here to that one, hold my control button, and I'm going to come down here and pull that in like so. Is that the way I want it? No, I want to do the other one. Undo. Control. And it's not going to let me do control on this one because that's an offset and not a rectangle. I offset that rectangle to create this one. And so that's not a rectangle or a primitive shape. It's an offset of a primitive shape. And when I hold control, I don't get the radius tool. But if I do my ruler, I see that that's about 9.1 millimeters. So half of that's 4.5, half of that's 2.25. So if I do radius tool and say 2 millimeters, I don't want to do that. I want a negative, and I need to undo that. And you can use your radius tool to do a negative. Just put in negative 2.5 instead of 2, and it'll create an inverted radius by using a negative value. Now I want to draw a perfect circle. And just place it by eye. And now I've got that. Say Control D, duplicate it, bring it down to where it looks like it's about where I want it. Holding my control button to make it move really slow. And that looks like I'm kind of where I want it. I'm going to group those, hold my shift button and tell it to go to horizontal center. There, that's perfectly centered. And now I'll select that and duplicate it. And I'll move it over to where it looks like it's about where I want it. And then hold that, group those, and then hold my shift, select that, and center it one more time. And now those are perfectly centered. And now you've got your badge to put on the bottom to where you can put in there whatever you want. And if this isn't tall enough or wide enough, you're not able to get the information you want in there, well, you can do this. There's only one way to do it. You can do this several different ways. If you select every bit of this And right now, if we go into node editing, you can see the nodes for the inner piece, but you don't see it for that outer piece. And you see it for the outside base. So we're going to ungroup everything. Now we've got it all ungrouped. Selector tool and select that again and look at node editing. Why is it not? Oh, you don't see nodes on primitive shapes. And I drew out that rectangle using the rectangle tool. So to see the nodes in it, you've got to convert it to a path. So if I select that, convert it to a path, and now you show nodes. If I draw from the right to the left, encompassing it all and show my nodes, now I see the nodes of the outer perimeter and all that. So now I come right and get the bottom half of that, and I can just arrow that down. And I can make that base as big or as small as I want to, changing every bit of that, including the nameplate. Now I just have to go in and fix my pins and needles, if you will. Just simply grab both of those and arrow them down to where it looks about right. And then you would grab that and group them and center them again. But I'm not going to do that right now. But you can, I wanted to show you how easy that was to modify and change that bottom base and the plate, everything at one time to get you the size you want. And I actually kind of like that size. I like that size better than I do that piece up there. So I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to get rid of that toolpath because that's no longer relevant. That looks good. So I'm going to Control D, duplicate that, bring it up here. So that's up there out of the way for right now. Actually, we'll go ahead and Control D, duplicate that, and put it here and tell it to go to center top and get rid of that one. Control D, duplicate that, center, top and center, and get rid of that one. And top, center, and get rid of the short one. All right, so now those are all right. Those are all right. And I'll put my toolpath back in here, going from that corner to that corner on a toolpath. Now make sure that I don't want the toolpath dummy. Delete that. Selector tool. Select my buttons, and group those. Group all of that. And now tell it to go to the center of that toolpath. And there, that's good. All right. So now I just need to put a hanger up here to hang this with. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and grab all that, Control D, duplicate it, bring that up here out the way. Now I'm just going to take and draw out a circle. We'll make it a 10mm circle. And I'm going to take the center point and snap it to center right there. That's coming down a little far for me. So now I'm going to hold my control button, or not my control, shift and arrow up to there. I'm going to turn off all the other layers as far as the toolpaths and stuff and put that on the cut layer. There we go. Now, is that grouped? Nope, that's not grouped. So since that's not grouped, I can weld that circle to that piece. But before I do, I'm going to go ahead and do an offset of this one. And we'll do it 3mm offset. Now select the original plus that and weld it together. and Bob's your uncle. That is an ornament that's ready to cut out and personalize and do what you want. So that easy, that quick, was able to make that single layer ornament. We're 50 minutes into what we hope is a 90-minute. We'll scroll back up. Any questions or comments from the Peanut Gallery? There's my mark. No, no. All right. No, I'm not your uncle. Yeah, Bob's your uncle. All right. So the voice is starting to strain. Now, I kept all my toolpaths as I was building each of that. I was building that up to create that one finished piece. And you can cut that out as is, and you'd have a cutout. And actually, you wouldn't cut out that. This would be an engrave, and you'd put your engraving, your name, date, whatever you want to put in there. But cut that out and engrave all that, and you'd be done. But to take this real simple piece to the next level, ouch, that was a honeycomb that just fell on my foot. Okay, I didn't need that toe. I'm gonna bring this up here and bring it to the camera, and I want to see how well this shows up on camera live. That there are multiple layers of engraving going on there. I stained the base of the snow globe with a very, very light output of power. So it just kind of stains it with the laser. Then for the outer perimeter of the nameplate, that was a little bit more power. And you see how black the snowman is and how black the Christmas 2024 is? Turn off Bob there. That is super, super dark. And I see people posting videos all the time about using borax or other things to get, a real dark finish out of their laser. And I've never done that, never had to do that. Get my focus back. I'm on which way? There we go. I got that dark and when I did this project, I did it using nothing but the 10 watt of the 1030 Rolly. I used the 10 watt output, and I was able to get that dark, that black. Now, to find the powers and settings to create that look on my piece that I was cutting this out of, my skeleton, I cut this out of a skeleton. I went up to the top part of that board that this was cutting on and created a small little test piece to find out what kind of powers. And it was only a 5x5. It didn't take but a couple of minutes to do that out. And that gave me a real good range of speeds and powers to create this. But to get it that dark and that black with the 10 watt, I was at, I think it was 600 millimeters a minute and only like 30 or 35% power. So it was moving, relatively slow and high power. And it turned out black as the ace of spades. Turned out really, really good. And then various other outputs. And I don't like talking speed and powers because your material is going to do different in your environment with your laser. And that's why you got to test. You got to test. I shared with my patrons my exact settings, and a few of the patrons are using the exact same laser and my Hobo with wood Baltic birch, and they got similar results. They were happy with it. But I want to show you real quick how to get those layers set up. And then I got a surprise for you. I think we're going to have time. Making sure I ain't got no questions. Nope. All right, good. I'm going to mark my spot. Now back over to Lightburn. So if I'm going to go to the trouble of creating those laser engraved staining and layers, I want this piece here around that tag to be engraved. And I want to accentuate this bead, this round bead. You see the round here, but in your mind's eye, you have to recognize that that round bead is extending out here towards you on this side. And I want to see that. So I come up here, get my pencil tool, start at that point and draw a straight line to that corner. Done. Then I'm going to come over here to this one. I'm going to just draw to there, and here to here. Now, this is where a lot of people mess up. I just drew two straight lines, and I want to engrave those on the same black layer, and I want them to have that same speed and power. I want it to be that dark. I want to see that distinction right there. But whenever I didn't want to do that, I want my selector tool. Select that and go to preview. And this is something, guys, you should be in the habit of doing this. I don't care how long you've been lasering. I've been lasering now for over 2 years. I still do this before I send any job to the laser because I always mess up. I always screw up something. And by doing this, you'll catch your goofs. Select your entire image and do a preview. And if there's a problem, it's going to tell you right here. 3 shapes were set to fill, but weren't closed. These have been removed as they may cause problems. Continue. And if you hit continue, it's not going to engrave those lines I just drew. And that's what was happening to some of the folks with the Daniel prayer cross. Those lines, they were left as lines and they were trying to engrave in fill mode and they didn't do the preview. And if you don't do the preview, you don't get that warning. I think if you just hit the send button, I think it just goes and just deletes them. I think I honestly don't remember because I never send it without doing a preview. But if you get that warning, you can actually, if you go to preview again and it says, okay, show me, click show me. And it will highlight the problems. So those 3 are the problems. I want those there. They need to be in fill mode, but you cannot fill a line. It's a straight line. There's nothing to fill. So real simple, easy way to correct that. Do a very small offset of that line and delete the originals. And now you have a very small offset of that line and you put it in fill mode and you get the results you want. So offset, and I'm going to do an outward offset. And if my spot size of my laser is supposed to be a 0.08, give or take, then if I do a 0.04, then that's about, it's going to be close to the spot size of my laser, or a straight line. Because if your spot size is a 0.04, or if you set your line in at 0.04 or 0.08, and I do this offset outward of that line at 0.04, that's going to be a 0.08 offset, the thickness of that. And if that's your line interval and it's going to engrave that as a fill, it's just going to make one pass and done. So it's going to do what you were wanting it to do, but you're tricking it by making it a filled shape. So a 0.04 offset will give me a 0.08 because I'm going outward on a line. So it's going to go outward in both directions. And if I turn off, well, I can't turn it off now, but just trust me, that line's in the middle of that. And when I tell it to delete that line, okay, now when I go to do that preview, I will not get my warning and I get the engraved that I want to give me that distinction of that bead right there, that rounded bead all the way around. So that's the first thing I want to do. Now I want to get from that bead, because this is the glass globe, I want from there down on another layer so I can do that very, very low power staining with the laser. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to grab all this and say Control D, duplicate it, bring it right over here for a second. And now I'm going to grab my rectangle tool and I'm going to come right up here to that intersection, get my crosshairs, zoom out with my scrolling. And if you don't have the right mouse, this is really tough to do. But because my mouse, I'm not moving my mouse. I've got my arrows, it's right there, and I can scroll out. And now left click and start drawing down, come out, and I'm gonna go past it far enough that I'll be able to center it up and encompass that whole thing. Put that on a toolpath, show the toolpath, selector tool, select that toolpath, select that base, center it up. I don't want to move its height, just center it. And now I'm going to use that. And actually, I'm going to use that first. I'll do the outer piece and this piece. And I'll go Control B. And if I look at the intersection, that's what I want. The intersection will give me, because if I zoom in here, you can see, well, I'm not letting me zoom in, but you can see that scrolling line right underneath the snowman. So I'll say okay. And now I can take that over here, put that on its own layer, and then take and get my crosshairs and snap it in place right there. And that's going to be the stain layer. But there's a problem. I don't want it to stain that whole area because I don't want this area with that plate stained blue. I want to leave this natural wood. I don't want to have the laser stain that area. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to ungroup it. And I'm going to put it in a line mode for right now so I can see that. And I only need, in fact, I don't need, let's see, what do I want to do? I want to do, I think I want to do the whole thing, I think. Or no, I just want this outer one. So I'm going to duplicate that, Control D, and put it on the blue layer. And I'm going to put the blue layer temporarily in line mode so I can see everything. I've got that one. I'm going to hold my shift button, select that toolpath, and center it up. And now if I turn off the black layer so you don't see it, that just brought that blue layer there, and I've got the other blue layer centered up. Now I've put it back in fill mode. That leaves me the void for my nameplate. And if I bring, did I not? Oh, I got to change my, you see, you don't see those black lines anymore. That's because the priority. So if I bring my black layer down temporarily, you'll see those lines. There they are. All right. So that's that. So I would, in fact, when I did do what I did, I selected that layer and put it on a separate layer. And there we go. I need to duplicate that. Or no, I didn't mean to do all that. Undo that. I'm going to hold shift and select. No, I'm not. I'm going to turn off the blue layer. Blue layer's turned off. Now I can select that. And that's only selecting the black layer. Put it on the green layer and turn the blue layer back on. There we go. So now I can do that at one power, do this at another power, do the black at another power, and I'll have 3 different color variations and get a really nice stained look, and that will add so much to the perceived value of your piece over it being just a monotone cut out ornament, except for the snowman going. No questions or comments. Okay. So there, that's done. Now I'm going to select all of that and say Control D and bring that up here to the top. I don't need any of that right now, so I can go ahead and delete that. That is a finished piece and ready to get my settings and fill in whatever I want to be my text. And that will be a very nice single layer. What I do with it, ornament. You can get, if you position these, depending on what size you do, if you do them at about 4 inches, 4 to 4.5 inches, you can get at least 6 of these out of a 300 by 300 piece of material. So you have $2 of material, you create 6 ornaments. And if you have a laser, like the laser matic from Rolly, that has got precision like no other laser I've worked with, you keep your template you cut these out of, and you've got it either on the jig bed from Rolly, or you just trust your honeycomb position. You've got it all the way down in the bottom corner or all the way back in the top corner. You can have these cut out, done, ready, and everything except for the plate filled in, and have, you know, half a dozen or a dozen of these sitting at your craft show. And if you've got a laser that you're able to take with you to craft shows, and you've got a jig, or you just lay that in there, and all you got to do is just personalize it and be done with it. Or if you pre-sell them to friends and family, on your local Facebook page, and say, hey, every one of my family members needs to buy one of these. You could sell it personalized and sell them for $9.95. Sell them for $10 a piece. Well, if you got $10 a piece out of them for a custom personalized, and the thing to do is try to make it an annual. So it's like Christmas 2024. So next year they got to get another one. Like I did one, and I'll show you. It's their first Christmas. But you got, in this case, I had a $2 sheet, and I'm able to get 6 pieces out of it, and I'm selling 6 pieces for $10 a piece. I just have turned $2 material into $60, and it ain't hard to do. And designing that's real simple. And before I leave, I'm going to make this file available for you to download for the next 2 hours for free on hobowithwood.com. So you'll be able to get this file for free on hobowithwood.com before we end the stream. But I want to show you a tip. I want to show you a trick. There is a lot of real good reasons to do what I was doing about, as you were building this item up, save your work, copy it, come down and keep modifying. That way you can always go back and grab a previous version without having to just keep undoing. But watch what else you can do. And before I do that, let me go look at these questions and comments. I see some questions and comments. There's my mark. Jack, don't you want to move the cut layer to the last position? Yeah, I don't have the priority set up. If that's what you're talking about, you're talking about the layer and the cut layer. I ain't even got there yet. I'm still in design mode. But yes, Jack is right. You want your cut, whatever you're doing, whatever project you're doing, you want to do all of your engraving first and then cut out your perimeter. Always make your cut layer your last layer. Yeah. We ain't nowhere near done. Yeah, because I got a surprise for y'all. And y'all gonna love this. The majority of you are. There's gonna be 1 or 2 of you jerks out there that's gonna have something nasty to say. And you know what I say to that? I can't say that. Not on YouTube. Okay. Question or comment. I have been 3D printing unique Christmas ornaments since 2017. And if you do something, they're custom and unique, and you make them annual, man, you got a new product every year that you can sell. All right. So let's jump back over here to Lightburn. And what everybody was talking about over here in your cuts and layers, you should always have, and not everybody uses the O2 red layer as the cut layer. A large majority of folks do, but you want to put that all the way down to your priorities list. So that's the last thing you do. But I'm nowhere near that point yet. Thank you, Tom. Thank you very, very much. All right. So this is a finished one layer piece. And I'm going to grab that. I'm going to group all that together, and I'm going to set it over here to the side. I don't really need it because I've got a better one with everything I want. No, it's not a 5-hour live. Hush it. But if you look up here, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 5 different layers up here. And a couple of them are complete. A couple of them are, I'm going to change a couple of things about, but it's going to be real, real simple. I'm going to grab this one right here. That was my first layer. That's my perimeter and my base. Control D, duplicate that. I'm going to bring that right here for a second, and I'm going to bring my snowman with the offset. Remember, I created the offset and brought him up there. I'm going to bring him down here. Make sure he's grouped. Then I'm going to select my inner globe, and I'm going to tell it to go to center. And then I'm going to arrow him down, grab just him, and I'm going to arrow him down until I get him in the position I want. Too far, bring him on down. Control arrow, and I've got my movement set very small, so it's about where I want him right there. Now, ungroup him once. Select him all, hold my control button, and deselect the outer piece. Now I've got just him and put him on the black layer. Now I'm going to select the offset, hold my shift button and select that. And do I want to weld it? Yeah, nope, I don't want to weld it. I want to subtract it. So I need to go that piece first. So I've got my solid piece of wood, hold my shift button, select offset, and subtract that offset. Now that welds him in there. So now I'm going to take that, group all that together, put him up here for a second. So let's see. Now this one doesn't have that. I don't want the hanger on this, but I do want that blue layer. So in fact, let's turn off the green layer a second. Turn off the red layer and the black layer. All right. Grab all of the blue, group it, and I'm going to bring it over here. Snap it into that corner. Turn everything back on. Grab that green guy. He's grouped. Drag him over there. Snap that in place. That's good. Now, is that what I want to do? No. I wasn't thinking far enough down the road. Turn off the red and the black. Those are the 2 layers I wanted. I'm going to go ahead and group those and move them down here for a second. Turn everything back on. So that these are all my original pieces up here. Now I'm going to grab this guy, duplicate it, and bring it back to the bottom again. And I want to select that and snap it in that corner. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I'm going to grab this one again. That that base design, I'm just using it over and over again. Control D, duplicate that. I'm going to bring that down here. I'm going to get rid of this toolpath, and I'm going to select that inner piece, put that on a toolpath, group it, and now that is my back layer. Grab that, Control D, bring that over here. Building from the bottom up, that's layer 1, layer 2. Layer 3. Duplicate that again. Layer 4. Layer 5. Layer 6. Layer 7. Those were, I didn't have to modify but one or two little bitty things from my original steps designing that one layer piece. And doing that, now I've got 7 different layers that whenever you take your time and cut those out and do them up nice and get a nice, good finish on them, you get this. You got a 7-layer snow globe from that same design that you thought you were just creating. And you did. You created a single little ornament. But now it's the same. And what I did with this to get the finish that I wanted on it, and also kind of disguising all of the layers, and I felt it kind of like added a little bit of character to it. I took my time to try and get these positioned perfect. But because of variations in the wood, in the way that one piece of wood burnt a little more than the other, charred a little bit less than the other one, or more than the other one, there were some variations in the outer perimeter. So I took and I just sanded it smooth until it felt good, and it created this uneven burn looking, and it looks like, okay, well, that's a handmade crafted. It doesn't look bad in my opinion. You could take a small Dremel and really just go at that, but then you're gonna, if you get it too clean, and this is my opinion, and what our opinions are, you get it too clean, then you're just going to expose the fact that it's cheap plywood. You'll start seeing the veneers and the cheap filler, and it ain't gonna look good. So by leaving that some burnt caramelized edges on it and it being non-uniform, I think it adds character to it. It's my opinion. But that guy right there, I got tired of creating these projects and they just sitting around everywhere. And I need to create stuff for you guys. And I don't have the money to ship stuff off everywhere. So on my local Facebook page, I've got to the point now where I'm like, hey guys, I need to make something and I need to make it for a video. Anybody want to have some? And so I made this and given that away to. And Tabitha, if you've tuned in to watch this, please take this with the humor that it was intended. I said, first one to reply, I'll make you a custom Christmas ornament. And she replied, and I said, okay. I said, well, I'm going to personalize it. Tell me the name. She says, it's a new grandbaby. And I said, okay, well, give me the name. And I said, but spell it out and then double check your spelling and then send it to me. I said, because I'm going to take your spelling. And if you did a typo, it's on you. And so that's what she gave me. Zyla Wren. And I just messaged her back. I said, you want to look at that again? Maybe buy a vowel. I'm like, Okay, Zyla Wren. Uh, and I think that was Zyla has a Hebrew origin. I looked it up. I think it was Hebrew origin, and it can mean shadow or uh, had a couple different possible translations, but shadow was one of them. But now, the for you guys that are still here, I want you to look. If you didn't already notice, some of you probably noticed. You're going, "What is that?" So I got my logo on the back, and it's 7 layers of the Baltic birch. But look real close in the back. See how it sparkles? Well, I wanted to give it that snow globe look. And to accomplish that, all I did was a cheap piece of cardstock. When I say cheap, that's $2. $2 from unless you get it on sale. There we go. $2 at Hobby Lobby. You can get it on sale at half off and get it for $1. But I like that because it was silver and then it had that glittery pattern in it. And that, in my mind's eye, it looks like when you shake up the snow globe and you see all the glitter moving around, but it's not glitter everywhere. There's some it's just a shiny silver, and then you got the glitter sparkles everywhere. So that looks like a snow globe. And to do that, that's why on this one, the very back base, what I said was layer 1, I turned that one into a toolpath. Well, ungroup it so you can see it. That toolpath right there is the optional, if you're going to do it, that is your pattern to cut out of your cardstock to glue in to the back piece there. And it works perfectly. Perfect fit. So, surprise! We didn't just design one ornament. We designed 2 Christmas decorations, 1 tree ornament. This is 7 layers thick, 3 mils, 21. It's just under, an inch thick. You ain't going to want to put that on a hanger and hang it on a tree, but it's a good shelf setter, or put it on the. You could even take it a little further if you wanted to. And I challenge, and this would be so easy to do. I challenge a few of you to do this and share it in the Hobo with Wood Facebook group. Take this and you make another base. Oh, that reminds me. The reason I got all this back here, I want to show you something. You take another base, cut it out to where it sits in a little rectangle base or whatever, and you create a stocking hanger. So you can set that on the mantle or whatever, and it'll be your stocking hanger, and you could have a really cool stocking hanger. So then we go back now and look at the questions and comments, and I've seen that. So again, thank you, Tom. Bless you, bless you, bless you. The surprise, no, because we're done. We're done except for the magic. The free stuff. I've already given you my knowledge, and Tom is very appreciative, and I appreciate you, Tom. But I'm going to take it a step further. I'm not going to give you this, but I am going to give you the single ornament. I'm going to give you the file for that. But the file for that doesn't have all of those extra layers in it. I do have another file for that, and I'm going to get it up on there. But let me look for these questions and comments, and then I'm going to show you one last secret about this piece. I don't know if that's a question directed at me or if that's a conversation you guys are having. Armastat, with fine details, do you ever have to calculate the minimum laser XY positioning resolution to properly place or align things. I'm trying to understand your question. Was fine. You know, I don't have to worry about placement or aligning any of things at all with the Rolly Lasermatic. With one of my previous lasers, yeah, it was a nightmare. But when you've got the consistency of a machine like this, I don't have any issues. You didn't duplicate the blue and green and then fixed. Yep. You need the ring hanger one. Ring hanger. Now this thing's too heavy to hang. You could, but you wouldn't want to put it around the tree, or you could put it on the top of the Christmas tree, and then it will look like Charlie Brown's Christmas tree, where it just pulls the whole thing over. But you could do that with a hanger on that whole thing, and then have it to where you can hang it on a door or something. It's possible. Exclamations. Could cut out glitter paper and glue. That's what I did. Yep. You beat me to it. I spoke too soon. Yep. And it does do the job well. Yes, this is an incredible machine. Let's see here. Have to load the bottom of the snow globe with lead to hold. Well, if you're going to put, depending on if you were going to make this a stocking hanger, you don't have to worry about modifying this any. But whatever base you mounted or put on it, then yeah, you could make that relatively heavy. And who's to say it even had to be out of wood? I don't know, but yeah, you'd want something that's going to be heavy enough not to yank your stocking off. But if you grew up in a household like me, the stockings were for decoration. You very rarely, ever, hardly ever, never got anything in a stocking. And if you did, it would surely have pulled this off because it'd been a big old piece of fruit that weighed a ton. But there wasn't nothing else that ever got put in stockings. Moses, thank you, my brother. Bless you. Thank you. Thank you. Set ornament to back of base to offset weight of stocking. Yep. Placement could make a difference. Arrow movement settings. You want me to discuss those? How I do those? Is that what you're talking about, Chris? Explain that how the arrow movement works. Or is you talking about somebody else? All right. So if you need if that was because you put exclamation points, I'm guessing that's about me. We put small gifts and candy in our stockings. Well, you come from I was happy to see anything under the tree. I wasn't worried about the stocking. That was what was asked for before. Okay. All right. So I'll show you that. But before I do, on these 7 layers of this, and like I said, I made this guy all out of skeletons. Everything I designed and done this because I'm out of material. I'm waiting on Amazon to get my wood to me. So I had no other choice but to start grabbing my skeleton pile. So I made these out of skeletons. And the spacer rings, in fact, go over here to Lightburn. This, and this are the same thing. And so you could actually just do that and just tell yourself 3 times that. But this piece doesn't have anything on it. It doesn't serve any purpose except a spacer between each layer. And since that was the case, I don't throw nothing away. I don't know about you guys, but if it's got good meat on it, I don't throw it away. This, if you remember my pencil dispenser that I made, before I put any of my projects out there for you guys to purchase, I will build them and test them and build them and test them and build them and test them. And the ones that fail, they go over in the skeleton pile. But this wasn't actually, on how to look at it, it's not the pencil dispenser. This was the popcorn, microwave popcorn dispenser. So it's had cut out, had already, there was a box. But not only that, it was all engraved, had the popcorn art on it and everything. But it didn't matter because all I needed was just this outer perimeter as a spacer, and you're not going to see any of the engraving that's on there. So, keep stuff like this too. Don't if it's got good wood on it, don't throw it away. Let's see, that one. There's another one that had engraving all over it, but I was able to get a spacer out of it. And now back to the control arrow movements. I'll address that because we're actually at 90 minutes. So we're at my cutoff time, but I want to address this, and I'll address 1 or 2 more questions. If we still got 100 people, people got any questions, we'll address them as long as I can talk. But right now, if I've got that selected, and if I use my arrow buttons on the keyboard to move this thing around, if I use just my right arrow, it's going to move, so far. But if I hold shift and arrow, it moves a little bit shorter. And if I hold control and right arrow, you barely even see it moving, but it's moving. And to set those increments up, it's up here in your gears and your shape move increments. You control arrow distance, your arrow distance, and your shift arrow distance. So right now, if I set this up at 10 millimeters, tab over, say 5 millimeters, and we'll make that one 1 millimeter. And say, okay. So now when I right arrow, that's 10 every time. Hold shift, that's 5 every time. Hold control, 1 every time. So is that what you were talking about, Chris? Does that answer yours or whoever else's questions? Yeah, Chicago Bob. I am a hobo without good wood. Amazon here in the Tampa area is not delivering, out of commission. Well, I imagine down there in the Tampa area, y'all quite a few things are out of commission, which y'all kind of dodged a bullet with it going just south of you. Saved a tremendous amount of storm surge hitting the Tampa area because it sucked everything out of the bay, and but the further south, which would be less densely populated, you dodged a bullet by the eye of the storm being just south of you. All right. Speaking of Amazon wood, as far as quality, is there one source you prefer over another? I've been trying to find 4 millimeter basswood. I don't like basswood very much. I'll use some double B, cheap basswood for testing some stuff. But ultimately, because I'm designing for products that I'm wanting to sell the designs for, and I want the designs to be perfect, then I bite the bullet And I use my premium stuff even in designing. All of my skeleton pile, it's all my premium wood. And I'm going to put in the comment field, this is the wood I've been using for at least 2 years. It might have took me 6 months to find it, but once I did, I don't use anything else. It's my premium Baltic birch, and that link, and I need to create a banner for this because it gets asked every week. It's www, where to go to comments, dummy. HTTPS Hobo with wood.com/premium Baltic birch. That is the best that I've come across. In 2 years of using it, I have received, and I buy it in the box of 45 sheets at a time and 300 by 300 sheets. And in 2 years of purchasing it, and I usually purchase at least one a month on average, I've received 2 boxes that were not as good as every other box I've had. And this last one was one of those. But it worked. It just didn't burn. It had more soot. It sooted up more than usual, but it still worked. And in fact, everything I'm showing you is what I'm saying is the inferior, but it's still premium stuff. Jack says he has a pile of scrap 3 feet tall. Yes, but in 1.7, it's a separate tab. Yeah, and so I don't have 1.7 yet. I told you back a few weeks ago I was not going to do 1.7 until they had 1.7.01. They've got it out now. I still just haven't pulled the trigger yet. I'm waiting to make sure everybody's quit complaining, because there was a lot of people complaining about this one when it hit. If I was to set the superfine arrow move to the laser's minimum step distance, then I could use snap to grid. Then any fine detail alignment issues goes away. Yeah, because you can set that. To get ultra fine movements, I will occasionally, because I don't like snap to grid. It don't always work the way I want to, but you can go as small as 0.0001. So what's that? Tens, hundreds, thousandths, tenths, hundred thousandths. Yeah, check it again. 10 thousandths. So 1/10,000th of a millimeter. That's how small of a movement you can make. And occasionally, when I'm having some issues, I will use that some fine of a movement, but not often. Hey, thank you, Stephen. I like your name too. That's my name, actually, but nobody calls me Stephen except for my family. And usually when I hear Stephen, I'm in trouble. So I go by Steve. So there is the link, hobowithwood.com/premium Baltic birch. That will get you and it's AA grade. It is really nice stuff. Some would only get used in middle layers due to quality. Some woods only get used in, and I think this last batch I had, it was the middle layer that was giving me some trouble. All right, done. The questions, comments. Changed to box of 8. Don't know what you're referring to. Happy birthday, Bob. Happy birthday to you from all of us here at Hobo with Wood and the Hobo Nation. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for your support. Thank you in allowing me to continue to do what I do. And your blessings have been just that. They've been blessings, and they are greatly appreciated. He's saying the link was changed. No, once you get to that link, you have to tell it what you want. You can do box of 8, and there's multiple links, multiple options. And I always get the box of 45. Oh, okay. Amazon don't have. In fact, I noticed this when I ordered mine the other day. I ordered a box of 45. I'm waiting on it. I thought it was going to be here Wednesday, but then I got an email that said it won't be here for another 8 days. And when I ordered it, it said they only had like 15 or 17 left. So they might be temporarily out, but I don't anticipate it being permanently out. So they've run out. And Sogan Ray saying there are no options. Yeah, well, keep that link and keep checking. When you want premium wood, it'll be replenished. Who knows with what's going on with being the storms? We temporarily had the what do you call the unions on the docks, the ports. They were shut down for that long, and the logistics can screw things up for a couple of weeks. So especially if a manufacturer is using a just-in-time fill method, in other words, they replenish their stock. They know what their average sales are going to be, so they anticipate that, and they have a flow going for just-in-time for fulfillment. And if there's an interruption in any part of that chain, even for a brief moment, it can backlog everything. So that temporary strike with the union may have messed things up. It could have been, but I noticed, like I said, I ordered mine Monday, first of the week, and I was expecting it by Wednesday, and then I got a notification that said, hey, it's going to be later. So I don't think it had anything to do with that, but you never know. Okay, guys, thank you. It's an hour 45, hour 42. Is anybody that had other questions, other issues that they were wanting to talk about? We're not going to do that here tonight in this stream. You have my email. I'm going to share it again. Or there it is. It's still going across there. Right there. hobowithwood@gmail.com. If you email me there, and there are folks in this stream who can attest to the fact that I check that email almost constantly, and my sleep schedule is not a schedule. I've been up at 2 and 3 o'clock my time online answering and working with folks who are in other parts of the world, and then even do this, so no telling, I may be in the bed asleep. If I don't answer you pretty quick, I might be in the bed. But then there's sometimes when you're like, hey, you should be up by now. Well, if I was up to 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning helping somebody, guess what? I'm sleeping until noon. All right. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to hear Flutter call. All right. Oh, wow. Don't even talk like that. Don't even remind me. Christmas is in 74 days. I ain't even done the math. I'm counting down to November. Get that out of the way. We have the same sleep schedule. They ain't one. All right, guys. Thank you for hanging out. And for everybody who contributed tonight, thank you for your donations. Now, you thought I forgot, but I didn't. I got to go over here to hobowithwood.com. Need to open a new tab so I can do that. Ding dong, hobowithwood.com. And from now until midnight my time, which will be an hour and 15 minutes, you will be able to download that single layer for free. So products, all products. Come to Papa. All right, now snow globe ornament, edit, sell price 0, and it will be until 10/13. All right, and now, and I'll go over this in a second too. And I'm also going to upload the 7-layer, all products, 7-layer edit. If you are a patron and you're a gold patron, you can download these files for free, regardless what time you're watching this video. Publish, where you at? Publish. But I also have people, every time we do this, they're like, I don't see it. I don't see it. Well, that's because your Windows settings or your security settings is loading a cached version of the website and not a most recent. So if you force it to refresh that website, you'll see those because they're both on there now. The single layer snow globe Christmas ornament is free until midnight tomorrow, technically, I guess. Midnight tonight, midnight tomorrow, till 12 a.m. The 7-layer snow globe, snowman snow globe, it's $4.99 if you're not a patron. But if you're a gold patron, you get that for free too. If you're a silver patron, you get it for 80% off. A bronze gets it for 60% off. So those files are available. I'm expecting my phone to start blowing up with the ding, download, on the free one. There'll be a few of you that buy the 7-layer, and every one of my patrons will download that 7-layer. That thing is cool, and especially doing the, where did I put it? There it is. Put it in and get creative. You know, you might do gold glitter. You might do just the silver glitter. This one's got the pattern in it. Or you might do, I think someone mentioned something about mirrors. If you got a CO2 laser and you can cut the mirrored acrylic, you can put that in the back, and that'd be kind of cool. Lots of options. I even started to do, and because of the size of that snowflake and it covers up so much of that background, I decided not to, but I started to do a cityscape or something in the back. Because, snow globes, sometimes you'll have a little cityscape in there. But that snowflake covers up too much of it, so I didn't bother. That looks good, and it's quick, and it's easy. And I'm going to wrap this up before we hit 2 hours. Make sure I don't have any more questions. Yeah, noon for Chris. He's 12 hours opposite me. All right. Looks like that's all the questions. Again, thank you all for hanging out. Go get that free file. And for all of you naysayers and negative Nancy's, let me just say this. If you got the nerve to say something nasty, have the nerve to put your contact information in there. What you afraid of? Because I can take it. Can you? Thank you again, guys. Y'all have a good weekend. Have a good next week. I have no idea what next week's going to hold for us. We'll get there. We'll get there together. Y'all have a good one, and I'll see you in the next stream.